Good morning. There is no hiding the fact that the Audi A4 B7 is already showing its age, so it is increasingly difficult to buy a car in good condition, both technically and visually. Rust is not uncommon, for example, and can appear on sills, fenders, and door edges. Many cars also have a history of accidents and, if they have been repaired improperly, are more susceptible to corrosion. The windscreen, where the battery is located in the A4, can also corrode. The interior is standard for VW Group cars of that time, including non-functional pixels on the displays, worn-out button surfaces, and you also need to check whether the glove compartment opens properly. Sometimes the hinges break. Despite these shortcomings, the interior is of such good quality that dishonest sellers have an easier time when they want to correct the odometer readings. Among the typical faults, air conditioning failures are sometimes listed, specifically the condenser. A recurring remark concerning the Audi A4 B7 chassis is the wear of the front suspension. The wishbones themselves, made of aluminum, are expensive and cannot be regenerated. In all engine versions, power steering system failures may occur, usually caused by fluid leaks. In the 4 rupees, you need to check the condition of the dynamic ride control system. The shock absorbers may be worn and leaking. There should be no major problems with the brakes, although the standard brake system in most versions, with 312/255 of a millimeter diameter discs, front/rear, is not very good for dynamic driving. Note that it was also installed in the 1.8T version. The system with 320/288 of a millimeter discs, used in the 2.0 TFSI among others, is much better. The Audi S4 had 345/300 of a millimeter discs as standard, and the RS4 to 365/324 of a millimeter, or 380/324 of a millimeter. The latter option is ceramic brakes. Some users use brakes from the top versions in regular A4s. The basic petrol engine in the A4 range of the B7 series was the naturally aspirated 1.68 volts with 102 HP throughout its production run. Apart from its average performance, it is hard to fault it. Not only is it durable, it is also simple as a flail and therefore cheap to repair, and it also works well with LPG, similarly to the 1.8T and 2.0 units. The 1.8T engine is not yet a TFSI unit, but an almost iconic power source of a slightly older date. It is more expensive to run than the 1.6, but there is probably nothing terrible going on here. The list of typical faults includes problems with ignition coils, timing, watch out for the chain connecting the camshafts, water pumps or oil leaks, as well as worn turbochargers, but most users praise these engines. It is necessary to ensure regular oil changes. The car may pay back the forgetful with, among other things, formation of sludge in the lubrication system, resulting in switching to emergency mode and limiting the engine's service life. A decent choice is also the 2.0 naturally aspirated engine with 130 HP. Here, potential problems mainly concern the variable valve timing variator, the cooling system, or the inability to start. Some owners report excessive oil consumption. The next option is the 2.0 TFSI FSI turbo engine in various power versions, from 170 to 220 HP. Similarly to the 1.8T, here too, despite the name, we are not dealing with the EA888 unit, but with the older EA113. Potential problems include failures of the high-pressure pump, NEX probe and crankcase ventilation valve, wear of the turbocharger and the chain tensioner connecting the camshafts, as well as the intake shaft itself, although probably newer shafts with the letter B at the end of the product code have been corrected. In the 2.0 TFSI, unexpected oil pump failures also occur. It is true that you can replace it with a much better element from the 1.8T engine, but this requires engine modification to make the installation possible. This is bad news. The good news is that the price of such a modification is still lower than the price of a new oil pump for the 2.0 TFSI at an authorized service station. Due to direct fuel injection, sooner or later there will certainly be a problem with carbon deposits in the engine. This can be slowed down a bit by choosing the right engine oil. If it seems to you after this description that the 2.0 TFSI is a worse choice than the 1.8T in terms of reliability, then you are right. The 3.2 FSI engine with 256 HP is average. It also has problems with carbon deposits, leaks in oil consumption, as well as failures of timing tensioners, ignition coils, and injectors. The 4.2 S4 and 4.2 FSI 4 rupees units are considered durable, although the top engine in the range very often has problems with developing full power. Usually the main reason for this state of affairs is the deposit of carbon. Oil leaks and its consumption are nothing strange, as are intake manifold, flap failures, ignition coil failures in the 4.2 FSI, and timing problems, the latter mainly in the S4. The condition of the cooling system requires checking. This model's range included as many as 5 diesel engines, 1.9 TDI PD, also as 1.9 TDI with a 6-speed manual gearbox, 2.0 TDI PD, 2.5 V6 TDI VP, 2.7 V6 TDI crossing, and 3.0 V6 TDI crossing. PD denotes unit injectors, VP injection pump, and CR common rail. The only diesel unit that was available throughout the entire production period of the A4 B7 was the 140 HP 2.0 TDI PD marked BPW. This marking is important because the BPW engine always had a particulate filter, like the 170 hydrogen phosphide BRD variant, unlike the 2.0 TDI PD with codes BLB and BRE, which never had filters but were only produced in 2004-2005. The 1.9 TDI engines were on offer for a slightly shorter period, from 2004 to 2008, with both models with and without particulate filters. It was always installed in the 6-speed TDI version from 2007-2008. The 6-cylinder 2.5 TDI from 2004-2005 is equally interesting. It never had a DPF, but the BCZ unit combined with the multitronic gearbox had only 310 Nm, while the BDG unit with the same power, i.e. 163 HP, mated to a manual gearbox reached 350 Nm. A particulate filter can always be found in cars with the 2.7 TDI and in the 233 HP variant of the 3.0 TDI, while the 204 HP version of the latter engine does not have a DPF, but it was also only on offer from 2004 to 2005. It is worth noting here that the durability and reliability of DPFs in the Audi A4 B7 is relatively decent, and most sources do not even mention problems related to this issue, and if they do, they usually result from normal wear or another engine failure, e.g. leaking injectors. However, if someone still prefers a car without this filter, they have a choice. In terms of reliability, it is best to rely on the 1.9 TDI and 2.7 and 3.0 V6 TDI engines. The latter two are almost the same design. In the 1.9, typical faults include exhaust gas recirculation valve failures and oil leaks. It is worth checking whether the valve cover gasket or cylinder head gasket require replacement. In the 2.7 and 3.0 TDI, problems usually concern the flaps in the intake manifolds. You don't have to buy new manifolds, there are repair kits, injectors, and, unfortunately, the timing. Unfortunately, because the chain timing in these engines is on the gearbox side, replacing it is expensive. You should also check the condition of the pulley with the vibration damper. If it is damaged by the separation of the inner part from the outer part, the multi-groove belt will stop working, and thus the alternator. 2.0 TDI units are usually not worth bothering with because their unit injectors and oil pumps fail and their heads crack. Such a car can be considered either if it has just had such repairs done, or if you are looking for something cheap that you intend to repair before starting to use it. The 2.5-liter V6s have been improved compared to the engines from the late 90s, but they still do not show advantages significant enough to look for this source of power specifically. For example, there are still cases of worn camshafts, and injection pumps and oil pumps are also faulty. The Audi A4 B7 offered 3 types of transmissions. Manual, here we have a further division into 5 and 6-speed transmissions, automatic with converter called Tiptronic, and continuously variable Multitronic. Depending on the engine version and transmission, front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive was available. It is worth noting that the Quattro all-wheel drive was not offered with 5-speed manual or continuously variable transmissions, so as you might guess, All A4 B7 Quattros have 6 gears. In manual gearboxes, the only major problem point is the dual-mass flywheel, and that's more likely in diesels. You can also pay attention to the clutch operation in the S4 and 4 diesels. If they were used regularly at full performance, the system may not work completely smoothly and without problems. In the 4 rupees, the clutch pedal sensor sometimes causes problems, which prevents the cruise control from working properly. Multitronic transmissions have a rather bad reputation due to Audi's past adventures, but in practice they work well for calmer drivers, although they are more prone to failures than other options, and repairs are expensive. And there's not much that can be done about normal wear and tear. Most likely such a transmission will require regeneration after driving around 200,000 kilometers, and that's on condition that the oil is changed regularly. Tiptronic should last 50,000 kilometers longer, with the same caveat. Regardless of the type of drive chosen, FWD or Quattro, you don't have to worry about problems with transferring power to the wheels, although versions with 4-wheel drive obviously require due attention. By this I mean regular oil changes in the differentials and transfer case, as well as making sure that both axles have the same tires with similar levels of wear. Quite a lot, because the Audi A4 B7 engine range was exceptionally rich. However, this does not mean that each engine is a so-called junk, and failures are a constant in the car. The only problem is that it is increasingly difficult to buy a model in the desired version and in good condition, but it does not hurt to try. And if you know of any common errors, your comments are welcome.